Hello everybody, I'm Dutch, and well today I'm going to talk about dye sublimation, what it is, how it's done, and how it can be used, and the great ways that it can put personality into your gear. So let's get started. First of all, let's talk about the history of putting color on gear or fabrics in general. So originally you could dye a fabric. They used to do that with grinding up shells and things like that. You know, maybe there's plants that would put out a certain dye color that they wanted. I know purple's royalty is because it's the most expensive dye to be able to get. If you wanted any type of like stripes or something like that, people actually put in different colored threads to make those stripes, to make like a plaid. And then you could also dye a fabric with putting the colors in, and that gave it a lot more personality. Not too long in the distant past, they started doing silk screening, and they're actually putting ink down on the surface. They do one color at a time. They actually have a screen, and the screen has a negative space, and they squeegee that through. They even did it by hand very often, and this was a very costly and slow, but I'm sure everybody has had one of these shirts, and they put the pigment down on the surface of it, and after it washes a couple times, it cracks, it fades, it peels. So there's been a couple other different ways. People have been able to print direct to fabric for quite some time now, but then came along dye sublimation, and I think dye sublimation really opened up a world of being able to make very personal gear, or anything for that matter, but in small batches. No longer did you have to invest in these expensive silk screens. If you're not making 1,000 of them, you don't get your money back worth, or you didn't have to set up some special loom so that it gets some special coloration or things like that. I can literally print 1 square inch. I could even do smaller. I can dye sublimate to hats and shirts. We've been having a lot of fun around here printing our own shirts. I print shirts for bands that I go to see, and I love to just go there, print them a special shirt, and let them give them away to the crowd. Then I really enjoy it when I go to see them maybe a week or two from there, and I see somebody wearing that shirt. I think to myself, I made that shirt. I designed that shirt. So the vibrancy in color in dye sublimation is incredible. You can see here, we're able to do things that really pop. This is a licensed camo that we do. The way this process works is different than all the others. So they are taking pigment or ink, and they're putting it onto a paper. Almost always it's plied on paper, and it's full width of the fabric. We can print up to 60 inches wide, and the pigment is, the only thing it does is it holds it there until we actually do the dye sublimation. The sublimation is when you turn that ink into a gas, and it penetrates, doesn't go on the surface of the fabric, it penetrates through the fabric. As you see here, this isn't just on the surface. The back side looks almost as vibrant as the front side. Now this is a thinner material, and you will not always be able to go all the way through, but it's not on the surface, it's not gonna peel, and the worst thing that can happen to it, besides obviously tearing, is with a long period of time of sun exposure, it will fade, but then any ink is gonna fade in a lot of UV light. So you probably have seen our banner behind me, and that was done, I don't know, like 4 years ago or something. It still has quite vibrant in the coloration on it. So it is applied with the heat. We go and we run that paper with the ink, it turns into a gas, and it penetrates into the fibers, and we can generally do man-made fibers. We have done a small amount onto cotton, but it is not as vibrant at all, and sometimes we're not able to do it. Sometimes you can get a polyester with cotton blend. Well, you're really going to be dyeing the polyester that's in there and not the cotton. So you really want to stick to particularly polyester. We also can do nylon, so we can do Hexon. Hexon 1.0 goes pretty well through 1.6, and you're gonna have very much a whitish finish on the inside, or it's gonna be extremely muted. So what this does though, is it allows us to make very custom gear in very small quantities. Can you imagine I can dye 2 yards, send it to a vendor, and they can make a very personalized backpack just for that individual. And this could have a scene on it, it could have a certain camo, and we have a wider arrangement of licensed camos that we offer. This is one that we offer, and these are really nice, but I'll tell you, here's another one What I really like it is when people go and put their personality into it. Here's one that somebody had just sent to us and we had just recently made. I wanted to show this one because, man, this really has a great visual pop. This is one of our own camos that we make, and if you look in here, you can see little pieces of bling that we put into it. So right in here is the flea, and it's part of the camo. It's part of the fun of looking at this camo till you can finally see the ringworm or the hookworm, and in this case, a tarp worm, very subtly put into it. One of my favorite ones, and not everybody else's favorite, is the cheeseburger one, and I have had a lot of fun with that. They've made me cheeseburger curtains for my office, and I have a cheeseburger tarp, and well, it's one of my favorite foods, so it's one of my favorite prints. It's a little bit where I get to put my personality into the gear. So you could even put your face on a tarp. You could put your wife's face. Actually, Fee, my partner, he has his whole family. He has a whole bunch of pictures spread out onto his tarp so that when he goes camping, well, he's always bringing his family along. I think that is really special. And then ultimately, we take the fabric and we make it into gear. This is a very simple pillow. I really like it when people make tarps because tarps are what you really see. And generally we make our tarps out of xenon. So we know that that polyester is gonna be taking and it goes all the way through. That is really incredible because this is a waterproof material. And I can't even really say I do it and I don't understand how you can get that dye into a waterproof material, but it goes all the way through. You can see it from the inside and the outside. I like when people do quilts, gives them really a lot of visual pop. I've seen some really creative things come through, American flags and things like that. It really puts their personality into it. Here we've done, this is X-Pack material. So some of these backpack materials, this is a very heavy duty material, but they put a polyester face on it and they really did it for wear resistance, but it happens to take that dye. And you can see we're taking white fabric and we're totally making it dyed. When you see a black tarp with a design in it, that started white and all that black was actually put onto that fabric. So we actually did a project just a couple weeks ago that I really liked. This actually was the catalyst for making this video. My partner Fee, his son, is in a play that is going to be, well, it's already been shown, and it is a Little Mermaid. So they got the license prints for the Little Mermaid and all the logos and everything, and they put on the Little Mermaid for a couple of days. And we were able to completely transform, not the stage, the entire arena in Little Mermaid. And we printed so many yards. We did the entire outside of the stage. We also did these long banners that come down, and because it was one after another going backwards and with holes cut out of them, it really looked like it was 3D of coral. And then in the very center there was this boat that we built out of wooden frame, and then we put the dye sublimation boat on the outside that really looked excellent. I really hope we do more of these. It really let us put a creative flair, our creative flair, onto their play. And think about this, at the end of the play, they didn't just tear it down, break apart the pieces. Usually somebody would paint something on paper or something like that. This is able to be folded and can be used year after year, maybe sold to another school, something of that nature. So I really like to see other uses that we've been able to do. Banners, if you ever seen our stand when we go to Trail Days or some of the other events, we get to not only, we get to totally do our display in dye sublimation to show what we can do. So backpacks have been fun. There's some pack companies and we dye sublimate their backpacks, and what I really like about that, whenever someone does that, they're doing it with very much a personal flair to it, and that's really what it's about, because you might be a camo person, but then you also might be somebody who really likes to shine. So bike packing companies, we do that. We're printing logos on things. And also I've been able to make really neat gifts. We can actually dye sublimate onto 1,000 denier fabric, and you can take that and you can staple that going around a picture frame. And with that, it looks so realistic. I took a picture of my father-in-law from when he was 18 years old, standing, he was very proud with the car that he was with, and we doctored up that old time photo. We brought color to it, and then we were able to make that into a picture that I gave not only my mother-in-law, but I was also able to give my wife for Father's Day. And it was a very personalized gift. I wish more people did that, because, you know, it's one thing to go order something off of Amazon and then maybe you wrap it and give it to them and you really didn't put any effort into it. This is something that you are really putting thought into, create something special and really just for them, and they will know it. Let's go look at some of the dye sublimation process. We have a on-staff graphic designer that takes this stuff and puts it into into the AI so that we can go and we can then put it onto the paper that then can go onto the fabric. Sometimes we use a hand press, sometimes we have small presses that we can do hats and things like that, but most of it is done on a very large heat press. And the process, I'm really glad to show you because I think it's really exciting to show you, and I think you're going to be interested. So let's go. Right outside our conference room, we keep our printers. These things, we can run them 24/7, and very often, right now we're in catch-up mode, so we are doing just that right now. This is a very fast printer, and it actually has dual heads, so it is laying down that ink as fast as you possibly can. So you can see our graphic designer over here, and it looks like we're doing some type of map or something of that nature. But where the real magic happens is down when we transfer it from paper onto the fabric. So let's go. So down here is where the magic actually happens. So we're about to run, there's some cloakwear camo that we're gonna be putting onto, I'm gonna say that's a 15 denier polyester, and it's really neat to watch. So this is, as the paper's going in, we put tissue paper on the top. That way if anything blows through, it doesn't wind up on our belt. Let's watch this go. You can see it's real important that we get everything in straight. So you'll notice that down on the paper, it really isn't all that vibrant. And compare that to what will come out, it takes a couple minutes for it to come out. It spends about 90 seconds on the drum and the belt. Oh, this is running about 390 degrees, and this is gonna completely dye this white fabric completely through. So you'll see it on the other side. So the tissue paper is only there to make sure that any ink that goes through doesn't wind up on this belt, which is a very expensive piece of equipment to have to replace. It's also very difficult, and we've never had to do that. So we had to pre-shrink a lot of our materials so that that way the shrinking process doesn't happen. And right now we're just in anticipation for when it comes out. And you can see the fabric is just starting to come down. And this is what was before the dye, and now you can see how it's completely dyed with that pattern. It is absolutely amazing. So the operator is going to get this onto we use PVC pipe. It takes quite a bit of skill and practice to do this. And you can see where the runoff winds up being onto, instead of the belt, it's running off on the tissue paper. And look at how much more vibrant that is compared to the paper. Let's go back and look at the paper. And that's because the paper is only holding the ink. Truthfully, I find the dye sublimation capabilities and the things that we're doing some of the most rewarding part of what we do for a living here and what we do here at DwR, that we can really make something special for somebody. And the printing, I mean, other than changing the shape or design or something, the best way to do that is to do that with the printing process. And I've seen some really neat stuff. I've seen some stuff that commemorated maybe a father that has passed away, or people like to put their dogs and things on there. And well, I get excited by this. I really hope you guys do too. And that is the dye sublimation process. I hope you guys have enjoyed it, and I hope to be able to do some more videos like this on how gear is made. Thank you, everybody.